Recording in progress.
This segment is all about selling your business in today's economy. Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get published to lead their fields, educate their consumers, and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this segment is Markus Mueller with KR Business Brokers. Markus, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Markus, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically let us know who are the types of clients that you work with.
Yeah, KR is has been in business for more than 35 years, so it's a long-established business brokerage on the north side of Seattle, and it's mostly Main Street businesses that we list and sell. So your typical coffee shop, restaurants, hairdressers, plumbers, drywallers, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes we have kind of a higher price range business. So that's what we are focusing on.
So, the business owners that you work with, I know they're great at growing their businesses, but how much do they know about selling their businesses and how prepared are they? What are their challenges?
Well, I think there are a number of challenges, and a typical business owner, particularly mainstream, is essentially deeply immersed in the day-to-day operations, and they don't realize that they are actually limiting the business by doing exactly that. And so what most of them are really not prepared. I think it's kind of a spur of a moment. Let's list, let's sell. Well, financials may not be decent. There's obviously some businesses that even don't record all the revenue and essentially want to collect vice, etc., etc. And what is also quite amazing, there's a statistics that shows that business sellers, 75% 1 year after the sale actually regret selling a business because they have an emptiness in their life before, it was every day kind of, they complained about the grind, but a year later, they are actually missing that grind.
Fascinating. So tell us a little bit more about the business owners when they start to prepare to sell their businesses and they don't know where to start. Is there a lot of information out there, or maybe it's misinformation? What are their preconceived notions? Do they feel like it's selling a home as easy as that? And I'm sure it's not like that at all.
Yeah, that's right, and I think what most business owners and I certainly have been in the same position in the past because I have started businesses, sold businesses, playing with my own money, and was an angel investor and score volunteer, etc., etc. I think what business owners don't realize is that the sales price or the value to a buyer is really determined by about 8 different factors. And so one of the factors is how dependent is the business on the owner, that's self-limited. Another factor is, are there cluster risk? Is 80% of our revenue coming from one customer, or are you dependent on a particular supplier, or do you have a key employee? If that key employee leaves, it's nothing. Another factor would be the quality of your revenue. If it's in business brokerage, for example, typically it's all transaction based, and so if a transaction doesn't take place, there's no revenue. Well, if a business owner actually knows about those 8 factors, then they can work on improving those eight factors. Last one I want to mention is the net promoter score that you probably know what that is. That essentially says, how likely is it that somebody will recommend my business to somebody else? And if you can lift those factors, what's going to happen likely is that your net is going to be better and the multiplier is going to be better. And the sales price is obviously determined by the net and multiplier. And so you can actually have a lift. I'm personally convinced that most businesses could really be sold for twice as much if the work would be done. For business brokers, of course, that would be interesting too, because then our commission essentially doubles.
That's a fascinating insight. And to your point, preparing that business so all those things are ready to go and makes the business more attractive. How much time does that take? It's if it, just like somebody selling a home is going to clean up a house, right? I imagine you do something similar with the business. How long does that take? What do you recommend?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's also a good comparison to selling a house. As a matter of fact, I just sold a house here in Seattle. I was on the market for 2 days, and it sold, and no contingencies basically, and so it's gonna close shortly. On a business, that's actually a number of factors to consider. On all the listings that you see, for example, on one of major listing sites, Best Buy Sell, chances are only about 10 to 15% of those listings actually sell. Then the time it takes to sell a business, I'm saying usually 6 to 12 months, because it's due diligence. If somebody wants to get SBA financing, that is kind of drawn out. Now we have additional issues. Interest rates are high. Lenders are more careful. And in many parts of the country, there's a severe shortage of labor, of actually finding people that want to work. So on average, I think 6 to 12 months, yes. There are situations where you sell a business maybe in 3 months. There are situations, but even if an average, people forget when you quote an average 6 to 12, it could easily be 2 or 3 years. And I think the important thing, by the way, is once a business is listed, the owner should not step back and relax. The owner, the seller, needs to continue a business and try to grow a business, because if it doesn't sell, that's going to help later on too, when it is getting relisted or something else happens.
Great insight. Markus, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners sell their businesses? How did you get started?
Well, as I said, I have started a number of companies. I sold one to a publicly traded company years ago. I was member of 2 angel investor groups, one focusing on tech startups, the other one kind of bread and butter. I was a SCORE volunteer. I was a CFO and CEO for health insurance companies, turning them or trying to turn them around. Let's also talk about that. I started a physician management company in Switzerland. That's where my accent comes from. I'm actually originally from Switzerland, and so I was asked to help KR to kind of reinvigorate business brokerage here. And so what I'm doing now is, yes, I do listings and I sell business, but what I'm really trying to focus on is convincing the business owner that they need to get out of this hamster wheel, and they just need to be able to step back. And actually, this is a slogan that everybody has heard, and I think meaningless for many people. Don't work in the business, but work on the business. And it's amazing to me how difficult it is to convince them, because what you hear is always, good, I don't have time, to sit down a few once a month and go through a systematic process addressing all those 8 different things. At the end of a process, you would actually feel much better, because now the business is no longer as dependent on you as before. Number 2, you have increased the value. Chances are you doubled it. And then you can make a decision, well, maybe you don't even want to sell yet. But life events happen to all of us. Somebody may get sick, somebody may get divorced, etc., etc. So this idea of I never gonna sell, that's not the case. Any business is either gonna get sold or get shut down eventually. It's that simple.
Great
So
insight.
anyway, the reason I'm doing this is now it's really a time to give back and maybe on the side, I'm actually offering this free of charge, except by the way, except I'm asking for a commitment fee because what I found is if you offer something free of charge, people have no problem at all clicking and signing up and whatever, and then it kind of peters out after the first or second meeting, and I don't want that. That's really not. So what I hope is with a small commitment fee, somebody is going to be maybe a little bit more hesitant to not go through the entire process. So anyway, that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right on, and I definitely want to hear about that offer in a moment. But before I ask you my last question, in regards to selling a business in today's climate, is there anything I didn't think to ask you that you feel's important to share?
I'm talking mostly about the Pacific Northwest here, and what's clearly has to be considered is the interest rate, the inflation, the political instability, and the labor shortage. On the other hand, what we also have here is we have Microsoft, Facebook, Google, etc. They are laying off thousands and thousands of employees, and most of them are highly paid employees that actually have significant 401ks that they could invest. And so on one side, you have a pool of buyers that's limited by the economic environment. On the other hand, you actually have a potential pool that would have a cash. The question is, would they actually make the move from being a W-2 employee somewhere to a business owner? And so the expectation, I think, needs to be that it will take, in today's environment, it probably will take even longer than the 6 to 12 months that I quoted before until the business is sold. But I'm also convinced any business that actually is prepared for the sale eventually will sell.
Excellent. And for business owners listening who would love to speak with you and get your help, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more from you?
Well, I easily reachable either by email. It's Markus, Markus at krbrokers.com, or they can send me a text or call me directly on my personal phone, which is area code 561-909-8485. Happy to talk to them and see if there's a fit. That's, I think, by the way, one of the points that clearly needs to be made. When you work with a potential seller, this is a kind of a long-term relationship. So you better make sure that both sides actually are a fit.
This has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you very much, Mark. Have a great day.
That was Markus Mueller with KR Business Brokers, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get published to lead their fields, educate consumers, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.